Welcome to the Shame-Free Sex podcast. I'm your host, Brielle Starr from shamefreesex.com. By tuning in today, you are taking your next bold step towards fully embracing your authentic sexual self, absolutely shame-free. It's time to take your power back from shame and experience the life of your dreams, both in the bedroom and beyond. Let's embark on this transformative, shame-free journey together. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Shame-Free Sex podcast. Today, I am speaking with the lovely Cheryl Fidelman, aka the Conscious Codependence Coach, and she is going to be sharing about how codependency affects our sex and dating lives, and how our relationship with ourselves is the most important relationship when it comes to sexuality, love, and relationships with anyone outside of ourselves. And this is such an important topic, especially because it affects so many of us, often without us even realizing it. And especially if you are unsure about what codependency is or you're not familiar with the concept, I would definitely suggest that you keep on listening in today. And I just think this is going to be one of the most profound episodes yet. I'm so excited to be speaking with you today, Cheryl. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast.
I'm so psyched to be here too. And I like our continued partnership. We've done other work together, and this is it's great to just deepen the conversations together and see where the conversations go. So thanks so much for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I've spoken with Cheryl multiple times for anyone listening on, of course, codependency, her specialty. And yeah, I'm so excited to hear about how this relates to our sex and dating lives. And I know this is something I personally relate with. As I mentioned earlier, so many of us likely do, even if we don't know it. And so, just to get us started for today, Cheryl, could you tell us about what codependency is for anyone who's not very aware of that or unsure, and then how it can play a role in our sex and dating lives?
Yeah. Codependency is so unbelievably common. I think it's a human epidemic. I mean, and I'm out to normalize it. I'm out to make it an everyday word. I want those who are on a healing journey, or even those who are not sort of consciously, intentionally on a healing journey, to know what it means and to be looking at it for themselves. The way that I see codependency is it's any time we're looking outside of us for reality, meaning I'm looking to somebody else for my sense of worth or value. I'm looking to somebody else for my sense of safety. I'm looking to somebody else for my sense of peace. I'm in somebody else's head more than I am my own. What are they thinking, and what do they want, and what's their next move going to be? And if I say this, I know they're going to say that, so I shouldn't say this, right? And so we're thinking 5, 10, 15 steps ahead. A lot of my clients are really high level analyzers and strategists, really good thinkers. They can think 15 steps ahead. They can have 10 plates spinning at the same time with their family and their children and their friends and their partner. All the energy is going out, but no energy is coming in. And this is huge when it comes to sex and dating, because oftentimes when we're in a romantic situation, we're focused on the other person. I wonder what they want. I wonder what they're thinking about me. I wonder what turns them on. Oh, they're looking at me like that. They must not be happy with me, which means now I have to prove myself, or now I have to act a certain way based on what I think is happening with them. So in codependency, we're basing our experience on what's happening, or what we think or project or interpret as happening with somebody else. And that's why a lot of stuff happens in our romantic lives that we don't necessarily want to do. Maybe we're a no or a maybe. Maybe we just need a few minutes, but we say yes anyway because we're in service of their reality. And then there becomes this sort of like gray area. Well, aren't I supposed to be a giver? Aren't I supposed to make them happy? Aren't I supposed to satisfy them? Isn't that what a partner does sexually or even not sexually, right? They're my partner. Aren't I supposed to overgive and serve their reality and take care of them? Because sex in our codependent moments can occur like, well, I'm taking care of my partner. I'm serving them. Well, I think it is a beautiful thing to be in service and support of your partner. Um, but it starts to go into the red zone when you're doing it to prove something, okay? When you're doing it to preserve the connection because you think they're going to leave you or get mad at you or something if you don't do it. When you're doing it from a place of being disconnected from yourself, that's when it goes into codependency.
Yes. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you explained that so well. And yeah, of course, just right off the bat, I'm thinking of so many scenarios in my own life where I can think back and reflect on those moments where I definitely was having a codependent moment when it came to sex or dating or anything like that.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking right off the bat around this concept of like people pleasing. And one thing that comes up for me, and I want to ask you about it, is I frequently in the past had trouble. Like, if someone in a sexual situation or encounter asked me, like, what do you want? I would answer based off of what I thought they wanted me to want, even though they were quite literally asking me what I wanted. Is that, I assume that relates very heavily to codependency. Do you have any thoughts around that?
Yeah, because what I hear you saying is your desire is coming from your projection of what you think they want you to want.
Yes.
And also, it could also be that your answer is coming from, well, I must want something, right? Because what if your truth is like, I don't really want anything. I just kind of want to be here and hang out. Or I don't really want anything more than what's happening. We're making out. I just want this, right? And so when somebody says, "What do you want?" then you may say, "Well, then I must that since they asked me that, it must mean I should want something,"
Yeah.
which is the next thing or some interesting sexual thing or and then when we say we want something in order to just serve their curiosity, oftentimes, like if we're going to really get into like the nuts and bolts, like of sex, oftentimes we're doing things sexually and we're trying to act like we're into it. And this is also where we start to another place where we really start to deceive ourselves when it comes to codependency, because it's like, I'm going to act like I like this and I'm going to show you that I like it. And I might even be trying to convince myself that I like it. But if I really was not playing this codependency, serve your reality game, I probably would just not be into this right now. But I don't want to omit that. I don't want to show that because I want to make you happy. I want to preserve the connection. But that's also the thing with codependency is it's the illusion of intimacy. It's not intimacy. If I'm efforting to preserve a connection, because if I say no, I think that you're going to not like me or not like the moment or abandon or reject me, that's not intimacy. If I'm just trying to preserve your being here in the moment with me, that's not intimacy. And also, I'm going to take, I can talk about this forever. So I'm going to say chunks and stop and pause. But the thing also with codependency is it is not presence. Presence is intimacy. Presence is connection. Codependence is future tripping. Well, if I say this and that, then you're going to say this. And so this is what I'm going to say because I just played five chess pieces ahead in my brain, right? Right? Or I go, well, I can't say this because if I say this, you're going to leave me, you're going to get mad at me, or you're not going to be turned on anymore, whatever it is. So now I create my own repression in the moment, or I put on what I call a codependent mask. And the mask is, I like this, I want this, or yes, or what do you need, right? Whatever the mask is that creates the identity that is makes it different, my external world, who you're seeing and interfacing with is different than who I am on the inside because codependency is in the future or it's in the past, right? Well, the way it went last night or on the last date or whatever, he got mad at me or she got mad at me or the last boyfriend or girlfriend got mad at me when I said this, right? So we're past tripping to create our present reaction, or we're future tripping to create our present reaction. We're looking to the past for evidence, we're looking to the future for what I think is going to happen for self-protection, and that gives me who I am in the present, and that's not intimacy. Intimacy is presence. I'm not in my mind on the time continuum. And the other piece is because I work a lot with thoughts, because I think that codependency is mainly a cognitive habit. And so when we look at our thoughts, and this is for everybody listening, try to notice this. If you're going to take sort of a practice away from this interview, I'm going to give you a couple of suggestions. One of them is notice your thoughts. They're either in the past or in the future, or they're about somebody else. He wants this, she wants that. This is what's going on with them. They, he, she. Okay. And so your thoughts are often about somebody else. Your feelings are about you. And so when we say, well, that's what he wanted, that's about him. The feeling might be, well, I felt confused, or I felt misinterpreted, or I felt pressured. And so the more we heal our codependence, the more we can be in our own body, intimate with our own experience. That's where intimacy starts, right? Intimate with our own experience. We then can be intimate with another person.
I love that. So beautifully said. And yeah, I really appreciate you touching on how codependency could be confused with intimacy or with connection, and how these are different things. And it ultimately comes back to finding that intimacy with ourselves first and that presence. And coming back, you mentioned something a little bit earlier about kind of knowing our maybes or our no's, and how sometimes we might ignore those or not listen to them, especially if we're having a codependent moment. Could you tell us some more about how our relationship to ourself, especially when it comes to knowing our yeses and nos and maybes and being able to advocate for those, is so important?
Because you're leaning into your truth as opposed to serving what you think somebody else's truth is. That's codependency. I'm either serving your truth or I'm serving what I think your truth is. And this is the massive illusion and delusion of codependency, is it's a whole bunch of projections. I know what you think, I know what you want. I know that you're going to be mad at me if I say something like this, right? I have a whole list on you, how you got mad at me this time and this time and this time when I didn't do that thing sexually, and this is how it went, or whatever it is. And so oftentimes we're disconnected from our yes, no, and our maybe, because we are more connected to your yes, no, or maybe. Okay. What's going to make you happy? What do you want? What do you not want? I on my website, in the disclaimer, it says I'm not a mental health professional. I'm a professional codependent. Because I cannot tell you how, I mean, just so extreme, relationship after relationship after relationship, where my sex life was so unbelievably in service of the guy, to the point where I never asked for anything. Just I just got so good at getting to know them and what would make them happy, what would make them upset. If they like seemed pouty or upset for a moment, I would lean in even more. And so what happens there, and this may sound strange because we're talking about sex, but what starts to happen in codependency often is we start to move into this mother-child arena. Okay. I'm actually mothering the person that I'm having sex with, meaning whatever they want or whatever is going to, I calm down what's going to make them upset. I want to make them satisfied. I want to make their nervous system regulated. So I'm just in service of their reality, physically, emotionally, psychologically, somatically. And oftentimes in codependency, we conflate empathetic empathy with codependent empathy. A lot of my clients come to me like, I'm so empathetic, I can feel everything, right? And a lot of it I have to shut down so that I can just like not take up too much room and make my partner upset, because I can feel everything and they have to deal with all of the stuff that I'm feeling, right? Well, empathetic, you might be an empath, which is like you can feel what somebody else is feeling. You have an extreme amount of sensation in your body. You have a lot of sensory reactions to things, and that's a beautiful thing. Codependent empathy is when you feel all of those, plus you have a job to do. Okay. Meaning I can feel that you're upset, and it's my job to fix it and take care of it and make you not upset. Okay. And so we want to sort of like diffuse the codependence out of your empathy so you can be a true empath, so you can be truly sensitive, so you can fully embody your experience and stay in your body as opposed to leaving your body to serve somebody else.
Yes, yeah, so well said once again. And I'm wondering, as you're sharing about this, it sounds like frequently, and I know I do this, and it sounds like from what you're sharing, we are telling ourselves that we're doing it's what we think they want, or we might even be telling ourselves it is what they want without actually necessarily knowing for sure that that's what the other person even wants. So is it essentially we're not even in the truth when it comes to that in itself. We don't actually know what the other person wants unless we actually talk with them about it. We're just kind of deciding what we think they want.
Well, we're believing our projections and we're believing our thoughts. And that is a huge um, product of the conscious codependency process, which is the process that I meticulously develop, that I bring people through to dissolve codependency, to bring them back into a deep embodied inner peace and intimate relationship with ourselves. Is we, I help, I focus on dissolving belief in the thought. It's not the thoughts, it's that we believe them, because not only can we be codependent unto other people, we can be codependent unto ourselves, right? So every thought I'm having, I'm believing it, I'm in service to my mind, I'm being dominated by my mind, I'm being dominated by what my mind is projecting into other people's worlds, and then I'm just really in relationship to my own mind. And so curiosity, what we get to through the conscious codependency process, is the practice of curiosity, which is the number one practice of sovereignty or independence of being, is curiosity. We become curious about ourselves, what's happening within me, what am I thinking, what am I interpreting, what am I projecting, what am I feeling, what are the sensations in my body. So we get curious about ourselves, and then we get to be curious about somebody else. Like, this is my interpretation of what you want, and what I think is happening right now. What is it that you do want, or what are you saying, or can you say that again, right? Because in codependency, depending on what trauma one has, because ultimately I'm an early childhood trauma healer, because codependence is how we demonstrate that unhealed trauma. Um, we don't want to take up any space. So if I were to ask, that means I'm taking up space with my question and my wonderment and my curiosity. So oftentimes I'm not going to take up any space by asking that. I'm just going to know, I'm going to preempt it. I'm going to preempt what you're thinking, and what you're wanting. And so we're a lot of us in our codependent moments, we think we're 10 steps ahead. And what is that? That's not presence. It's not presence. Presence is true surrender to the moment, which is another thing that is difficult for some of us, regardless, depending on what trauma we had. Surrendering to the moment is often not safe. It doesn't feel safe. So we're hypervigilant. We're 10 steps ahead. We're out of the moment. I don't have to be in the moment because I have to know what your facial expression is. I have to know what that energy means, because oftentimes in codependency, everything's about us. I mean, for me, you could flip your hair and I'd go, I wonder what she meant by that. You know, I wonder what, and in dating, like, I remember one of my boyfriends made me dinner, and the plate landed, when he served it, the plate landed on the table with kind of a little bit of a crash. And I don't think he meant anything by it, but I felt destroyed. I felt punished. I felt like he was mad at me. And so oftentimes in codependence, we're making everything mean something because we're living in their world. So everything they're being, every movement means something about us because we're living in their world. And so it's important to come back to living in our own world. And once you're living in your own world, you'll be with somebody who's living in their world. Then, I mean, the depth of intimacy and sex and partnership, and not just sex, but sensuality. Sometimes sensuality can be more connecting than actual intercourse. Holding, intertwining, smelling each other, feeling each other's skin, just falling into each other's arms, that kind of sort of physical intertwinement, being safe to do so, that can be just absolutely so deep the more you're in a relationship with yourself.
Yes. Oh, I love that you brought up
Deep,
sensuality.
but like a spiritual, we're talking about like a spiritual soul dance.
Yes, totally. Yeah. I love that you brought up sensuality. It's such another important aspect of intimacy and sex and all the things that sometimes gets
Yeah.
lost in the mix.
Yeah.
And I wanted to come back to what you shared about the concept of surrender and how that can be really challenging for us. And so, is
Mm.
there anything else you could tell us about surrender and especially about how surrendering to the moment, surrendering to being present, and just surrender in general can benefit and transform our sex lives or our dating lives?
Mhm. True surrender is not of the mind. You're not listening to your mind, you're not serving your mind. You're fully in your body. And when you're fully in your body, you're not holding anything. You're without protection. I don't mean condoms, but I think people should use condoms. That's just a joke. But you're just without self-protection. Okay. And that kind of surrender is very difficult for a lot of us, depending on the trauma that we've had. And so when we have a certain level of self-protection, we often will attract somebody else who has a certain level of self-protection. And so often what we do is we leave ourselves and we try to prove to them, you shouldn't protect yourself. I'm safe. I'm innocent. So we're proving. So we leave ourselves as opposed to not leaving yourself at all, being fully surrendered. And then you will attract somebody where you bring the person that you attract and bring towards your body is the person that you feel safe to surrender to. Then you can meet the depths of yourself, meet your own soul, have a spiritual connection with yourself. And the other thing that I want to bring up is the 3 codes to clear codependency. Where'd you come from? The puppy just came. I closed the door, but the puppy came in
The
somehow.
puppy went
Yeah.
through the door.
The puppy's like, I have a spiritual connection. Um, so the 3 codes to clear codependency. This is the foundational methodology of my work, and this is also where the somatic experiencing element of my work sort of arises. So the fundamental framework is the 3 codes to clear codependency: the want to be wanted, the need to be needed, and the need to prove oneself. And so this is a great reference point to be able to tell, am I in a codependent moment? Well, are you operating from the want to be wanted, the need to be needed, or the need to prove oneself? And this is huge when it comes to sex and dating, because like a lot of my clients are like, look, I'm fine at work, I'm fine with my family, but when it comes to my partnership, I'm like not present, I'm totally out of my body, because or some people are codependent everywhere, like I was. It didn't matter who it was. But it can be really increased in our sex and dating life because sex and dating recreates our childhood holding pattern. It recreates our childhood holding environment. I mean, it just does. Okay. So our nervous system regresses into old patterning, and we will often fall into the want to be wanted, meaning I have to do this thing that I'm not sure that I want to do because I want you to want me, right? Or I have to do this thing because I need you, because my safety depends on you. So if you're happy, then I feel safe. If you're not happy, I don't feel safe in my body or in the world. And also the need to prove oneself. And so we get stuck in proving your identity, proving you're a nice person, prove you're good, prove you're giving, prove that you're reliable. So whatever it is that could be different for everybody, what it is that you're looking to prove. And also sometimes we will prove to ourselves that this person is good for us when it intuitively we know that they're not, that it's not a healthy situation. And so codependency covers up our relationship to our intuition. The more you are deeply aligned with your intuition, that's also where your power and your sort of deep sexual intuitive connection comes from is when you're really connected to your intuition. When you're really connected to your intuition, you will have the sex, sensuality, and intimacy that you kind of dream of, that I think is our birthright.
Yes, I love that you described it just now as our birthright. And yeah, it's such an important emphasis on intuition. And you mentioned this idea that we might even be trying to convince ourselves that a partner is a good fit for us when we intuitively know that they're not. How, like, is there anything else you can say about that? How we recognize that and can overcome that convincing of ourselves, as well as just in general for anyone listening, if they are in a relationship, how can you heal your codependent habits within relationship, or is it common for people to need space?
You can be in the process of developing a relationship with yourself, whether you have one lover, 15 lovers, or no lovers. Okay. It is massively important that more and more and more of us develop a relationship with ourselves. It's not something that we're taught in our core curriculums in elementary school or junior high or high school. There are some like social emotional learning programs that are happening. It's rare, but it happens in different schools. This is what we have to learn. It's imperative to develop a relationship with ourselves. Now, people always say, like, oh, whoever you're dating or whoever you're married to is a mirror for what's happening within you. And I think that's accurate, should we look at it that way. But when we're not looking inside of ourselves and we're just looking at, well, if they would change, okay, if they would stop doing this, or if they would see the light, or if they would see that they're not listening, right? And so we focus like, I would be saved if he would just realize whatever's. And so we outsource our peace, when the root to belonging, the root to inner peace, the root to intimacy is inside of you. In our codependence, it's in somebody else's hands always. So my work every single day is powered by my passion to bring people back into relationship with themselves.
Amazing. Yes, so amazing. And like you said, not something that's really taught to us, especially growing up, or even as adults, it's not something we're generally, I feel like, influenced around. And I'm wondering, for anyone listening today, what if someone's feeling a bit like having a relationship with themselves is selfish? Do you find that that comes up at all?
Yes, definitely. When we are so geared towards serving somebody else's reality, oftentimes when we have a feeling, we go, I have a feeling, but let's set that aside and focus on your feeling. Because if I or we focus on my feeling, then I'm serving myself. And I think that that's an extraordinarily beautifully important thing to serve yourself. But in our codependent moments, it seems like if I put energy towards myself, I am taking energy from you. And if I take energy from you, then you're not going to be cared for. You're going to be unhappy. And your happiness is my job. So if I take a moment where I'm not focused on you, then you could fall, or you could get up happy, or you could get unhappy with me. And so we're constantly putting our energy towards another person. But what that really is, okay, so saying, oh, that's selfish, I mean, that's a band-aid, because what it really is not knowing how to receive. The basis for a lot of us in codependency is we just don't know how to receive. And most importantly, we don't know how to receive from ourselves. And noticing and honoring our intuition, that is serving yourself. That's receiving your own love. That's receiving your own energy. It's receiving your own attention. It's also receiving your own mastery, because a lot of us codependents are masters at getting to know other people, or we think we are. I know what you need. I know what you want. I know everything about you, all this stuff. Oh, don't you worry. I know them. I know what they want. I know, right? And because codependency can be so righteous, but who's the last person that we get to know? Ourselves. I want to flip that, that you know yourself a million times more than you know anybody else. And I'm not saying don't know anybody else,
Yeah,
just know yourself better.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, well, ourselves is the only person we probably will ever be able to know in such an extensive manner,
If
because
we try,
yeah, if
yes.
we try it, it is ourselves. Yeah. I
Mhm.
love that. Yeah. And you mentioned this concept of not knowing how to receive, and this is so prevalent, I would imagine, for so many of us. Could you tell us a
Mhm.
little bit more about how this difficulty with being able to receive could show up actually in our sex lives as well?
Yeah, where we are taking care of our partner sexually. We're saying that we want something that we don't necessarily want. We're leaving the present moment, okay? Because codependence, like I said, is future tripping or past tripping. And so we're going, I think dating and sex it can be the highest level of presence practice. Okay. It's hard to be present. What happens when you're dating? Are they going to call me? Are we going to kiss at the end of the date? Are we going to get married? Are we going to have sex? How is this going to go? Right? As opposed to what's happening right now in the present moment, what's happening within me in the present moment. What am I feeling? What am I wanting? What am I thinking? What am I projecting? Did I leave the question? What was the question again?
Oh, just like how not being able to receive shows up like in the bedroom and sexual encounters or having a
Yeah,
hard time receiving.
because number one, we are not present. That's why I got into the future tripping thing. We're not present. We're in the future. And we are simply taking care of them. We're in their mind. And so when we're in somebody else's mind, we're not receiving. We're giving to them psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. We are completely out, our attention and our gaze is outside of us. So when your intention and your gaze is outside, your energy is going out, energy cannot come in. And for a lot of us, we have self-worth issues. I'm not worth receiving. Your reality is more important than mine. Your desires are more important than mine. A lot of us codependents like to attract people who take up a lot of space. We call them narcissists, but I think that that word is so way overused. But we attract people who take up a lot of space because we're used to taking up a small amount of space. And we put people on a pedestal, and codependency has this inferiority, superiority kind of, you're better than me, you're bigger than me, you're more important than me. And we have a delusion of grandeur about them, okay, that they're, just a reality to serve. But really what's happening is I don't know how to serve my reality. I don't know how to receive. So I'll just serve yours. So anyway, yeah, that's like the foundation of a lot of our codependent habits is that we don't know how to receive.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, amazing. You explained that so well.
I
And
hope so. I hope so.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, you totally did. I totally get what you were saying there. And as far as like moving forward with that, when it comes to learning how to receive, does that just come back to working on our relationship with ourselves and our ability to be present?
Yes, absolutely. Because also when in receiving, if in my codependent moments, for a lot of us, if I receive something, I have to give you something too, right? And so now I owe you something. So it has to be even. It has to either be, I either give more to you, or if I receive something, I have to give, and this is where our surrender comes in. I surrender, I receive, I have no job to do other than to just simply receive. And so a lot of us, it's really important that we do this nervous system healing that we do in the conscious codependency process so that my nervous system can open and surrender and have basic trust in life and not have to hold, protect, tighten up, give back, deflect. This is again, I think it's our birthright. And for a lot of us, it starts with our mom, for some people with the dad as well. But for a lot of us, our mother was sort of missing that nurturing piece. And so our nervous system didn't learn how to surrender to the nurturing of the mother. We're serving the mother's reality. For those of you who are listening, some of you had one or more parents where you just had to serve their reality. You're walking on eggshells, or they never really got into your world. You just always had to be in their world somehow. And so we were raised to be dissociated to ourselves. We were raised outside of being connected to our inner world. And so in this work, I bring you back into full connection with your inner world. And that's where receiving comes from, and that's where that deep intimacy comes from.
Yes, amazing. Yeah, I love how it just keeps on coming back to our relationship with ourselves and how this is just such an important part, especially when we aren't, like you've shared throughout today, like not giving ourselves that attention, not being present with what we want, and always pushing our energy outward. I could see how coming back in is like the key element here.
Not just what you want, it's what you feel. Because oftentimes, I think in the sex world, because I used to do a lot of sex coaching, and I love coaching singles through the dating process, because I think dating is again a high level practice of presence. I also coach couples, but in the sort of sex world, there's sometimes this idea that you have to know what you want, right? You have to know, well, what if I don't know what I want? And what if I don't want something right now? Right? Or what if I'm unclear? You don't actually always have to know what you want, but I train you to at least know how you feel. That is really, really, really the deepest, truest connection to yourself. You can feel sad, you can feel confused, you can feel like so turned on, you can feel scared, you can feel a myriad of things and not necessarily know what you want, because that's cognitive, that's a thought, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with thoughts. But the more you're surrendered to your feelings, the more you can stay there and not leave that moment by trying to figure out what you want or make a request or know what the next move is going to be. Sometimes we don't know, we're just feeling. And there's a beauty to that. There's such a beauty to that.
I love that so much, and I think just hearing you say that was quite profound for me. I that is something I frequently struggle with, is that question of like, what do you want, whether it be from a partner or from even myself, thinking I need to know, like you said, the next step, and I need to know what I want to happen next. And I love this idea that I don't have to know. I think that's really like freeing and inspiring. And is there any type of communication that might need to go on in any scenario if someone does ask you what you want or is trying to pursue something and you're not necessarily sure what you want or you're confused or you're just feeling, how can we communicate that with a partner?
So, in my work, the conscious codependency process, I train you to be fully, intimately related with your present moment experience. So, if your present moment experience is, I'm confused, I don't want anything, I don't know what I want. I really just want to sit here and really feel the heat that's coming below my belly button right now. That's all that's happening. So I train you to be exactly where you are in the moment and how to express exactly the visceral experience of the current moment. That is having intimacy with your human experience, is being fully here right now, surrendered to it, and feeling all of it, which is a little bit scary for some people because I can't feel all there is to feel. No way. I can't just surrender to all these feelings because your nervous system and your mind wants to resist and change and not be there and be somewhere else. I don't want you to be anywhere else other than in your body right now.
Amazing once again. Thank you so much for diving
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah, and when someone's asking you like, what do you want? I don't know, they could be wanting to satisfy their codependency, or like who, I don't know. I don't know what's happening there. But you also can already always add curiosity. Is there something you're wanting to hear when you ask me that? Or, what is it that's having you ask me that? You always can always add curiosity. It's easier to add curiosity when you become curious about your experience. Now I can be curious about your experience. And that is the deepest connection. Clarity is the deepest connection there could be, I think.
Yeah. Yes, totally. Oh, so amazing. I love, love, love that. And I've loved learning all of the things you've shared with us today. I think it's so important, and I'm excited to move forward in my own life with this
Awesome.
knowledge, around codependency and how it relates to sex and dating. And for anyone else today who also notices some of these tendencies in their own life and is ready to move forward, working on that connection with themselves, what would be just like some of your suggestions as far as moving forward, next steps in our lives and healing and in connecting with ourselves on that deeper level?
So yeah, so one thing that I wanted to make a point to say here in this particular podcast, because it's the shame-free podcast, sex podcast, right? So a lot of shame comes up in sex when we have preferences, okay? And so a lot of us have a lot of preferences. And you may be a yes, you may go yes, and then you may think, now I'm a no, but I just said yes. So I don't want to say no because I just said yes. And so this work, the conscious codependence process, is so much about being present moment to moment with yourself that you start to develop a voice and you start to go, this is my preference now. Oh, and now this is my preference now. Oh, and now this is my preference now. Because oftentimes your things can change so much in a sexual encounter, in a flirting encounter, in a sensual encounter, where you're a yes, you're a maybe, you're a deeper, then you're a lighter, and then you're a nothing at all. It's like we are a moving, flowing poetry when it comes to sex, but and when it comes to dating. But we often don't want to embrace our moment to moment preference because we don't want to seem weird. We have shame around our moment to moment preferences. We have shame around changing our mind, right? And so, this idea of shame free sex is being able to have a direct, shame free, free and liberated connection with our voice and preferences moment to moment to moment. And part of the reason why we don't is because we're in a codependent state. I don't want to upset them. I don't want to confuse them. I don't want to take away their turn on, whatever it is. I want to be the good girl and just like play along. Um, so getting in touch with how specific you may want things to be is massively liberating.
Yes, totally liberating. And yeah, even just I'm thinking back to just recently, I had an encounter where I was just not feeling right. I was feeling really off during a sexual encounter, and I was so proud of myself because I said, "Hey, I really need to stop." And I was like that it was a really, really big step for me. Like that is something I never thought
Right.
I, could do. I was always like, I'll just power through, wait till it's over. Especially you just now mentioned this concept of being a good girl. I am very wrapped up in that, always working on that, especially when it comes to sex. And so, yeah, there's so many things like that that are these like little steps that we can take. And just what you said about being specific about what we want in that moment. When I realized like I really like should it was not good for me and my body to be doing that
That
at
was
the time.
an important move for you. Yeah.
Yeah, so I loved hearing that from you, and for anyone listening, just those little steps that, we can take towards starting to advocate for ourselves if that's something we're not used to doing.
Yeah, yeah. It's really the more we're in relationship with ourselves, the more we're in relationship with our desire, with our truth, with the messages that we want, with the requests that we have, and the more embodied you are, the more you realize actually that's all there is. All there is for me to feel right now. I don't have to say what I want. I don't have to direct you. I don't have to take care of you. All there is for me to just be. And that, is comes from feeling safe in the world, feeling safe in your body, feeling safe around other people, that you're the anchor to safety. You are your anchor to safety, not somebody else.
Yeah, that in itself is such an important reminder, I think, in all situations and dating, sex,
Yeah,
and everything in our lives, that when
totally.
we're looking for that safety outside of ourselves, we're never going to feel safe because we can't control the things outside of ourselves.
Yeah, and don't forget, listeners, when you are dating or you have a partner or you're married, notice when you're moving into mother child. Notice when you're moving into father child. Okay, so there's four relational quadrants in my work. I won't go too much into it because I know we're almost done, but there's mother child, father child, playmate, sibling, admirer, admiree. Notice when, and if you want to talk to me more about this, there's a free consultation that comes with this interview. Notice when you're moving roles. Okay, this is massively important. When you are in mother child or father child, polarity is taken out, and you're now in a just a textbook codependent moment. So just a little touch on those roles, very, very important in codependency. And then, yeah, so those who are listening, if you go to my website, you get your free PDF, put your email address in, you get your free PDF of the 3 codes to clear codependency. And it breaks down common behavioral roots, the common developmental patterns um, of each code. And then from there, it'll funnel you to my schedule if you want to have a free consultation.
Hey, awesome. Yes, thank you so much for sharing about that, Cheryl. And yes, as a quick reminder to all of our listeners today, Cheryl's website will be linked below in the show notes, and you can head over there and continue your journey learning and exploring your own codependent habits and how you can start healing and growing and flourishing and connecting with yourself, all of the things that we,
So real, it's so possible, it's so important.
yes.
Okay, I am so focused on dissolving codependency from the human condition. And I know that's a huge vision, but I'm doing it one person at a time, one
Yeah.
couple at a time.
Yes. Well, I'm so happy to have you here helping in all of the ways today by sharing your wisdom and helping dissolve things a little bit for anyone listening today.
Yeah,
And
thanks for the work that you're putting into the world. Thank you so much.
thank you so much, Cheryl. Is there, I guess I should ask you, is there like any final thought or just a final message you'd like to leave us with today?
Yeah. When you have a deep, deep relationship with yourself, you are not doing anybody else a disservice. You are actually doing the highest level, I think, of good you possibly can do for yourself, for the people, for yourself, your family, your community, and the world and the world at large. Having a relationship with yourself, I think, is the highest level of service we can do for ourselves and others. It may seem like if I have in our codependence, if I have a relationship with myself, that I'm destroying relationships, I'm destroying my family, or the person's not going to like me. But it's actually the highest level of service you can do for yourself and others.
Beautiful. I love that final message. And once again, I just really appreciate you.
And you'll have the best sex you've ever had. Since this.
That's that's the key part right there. I love it. Well, awesome. Thank you so much once again for being
Okay,
here.
one more thing real quick. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
yes, of course. Go ahead.
Because I just said you'll have the best sex you've ever had. And I think oftentimes in codependency, we confuse good sex for lovemaking. We confuse the you may have a great sexual connection in the bedroom, but outside the bedroom, it's a completely different connection, right? So in the bedroom, it functions, outside the bedroom, it doesn't, or outside the bedroom, it functions, or inside the bedroom, it doesn't. We want both frequencies to be working well, okay? And we don't want to confuse um, a good sexual connection with a spiritual connection. We don't want to confuse over serving somebody else's reality with actually having a good, safe spiritual sex life. So a lot of confusion can happen there. So I just wanted to throw that in.
I appreciate that. Any bit of wisdom you can give us is awesome. So thank you for that. And yes, just thank you for being here with us today on the Shame Free Sex podcast.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for listening.
Yes. Yes, and to our shame-free listeners, thank you for being here with us today and taking one more step in embracing your most authentic shame-free self. Stay sexy, stay safe, stay curious. Take care, everyone. Explore more at shamefreesex.com. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so that you never miss out on another episode. Bye, everyone.